Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to all of you for coming out for this really important conversation. Before I even came into Congress, I spent years and years working on cybersecurity, national security related issues. So as we're talking through safety and control, I guess I just wanted to get a sense from you just where we're at when it comes to the capacity to protect ourselves from cybersecurity attacks, as we are worried about the growing number of devices that we have that are connected to the internet. I have to say at the top of the list, I do have concerns just about autonomous vehicles, and I wanted to just get a sense from you what's true and what's not. So maybe Dr. Peña, maybe we can just start with you. Just what levels of concern have you had, and what steps are you all taking to try to prevent the ability for someone else to be able to access data as well as take control of controls and features of the vehicles?
Yeah, cybersecurity is a very important part of our safety framework. It is something that we take very seriously, and we take a number of measures to identify vulnerabilities, perform risk assessments, and then mitigate those vulnerabilities. One example is by design, our safety critical systems in the vehicle are protected from external connections. So you cannot actually hack into it, connect to it, and drive it remotely. And so we do design, we do testing. So we do a pretty extensive evaluation of cybersecurity and mitigations.
So with your company and with your fleet, have you had any instances where someone was able to access data or features or control of any of the vehicles?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
Dr. Moravi, I guess I wanted to ask you just similar questions. Just, how are you able to protect your consumers, your drivers from cyber attacks, and have you had any instances of cyber attacks upon vehicles that were able to access data, features, or gain control?
Yeah, thanks, Senator Kim, for the question. I guess I'll quote our CEO here from over 10 years ago when we started on this endeavor. He said one of his biggest fears was the possibility that someone could do, as you described, take over an autonomous vehicle and do something nefarious. Since that day, we've been committed to making sure that never happens. We have many layers of security within our system, and similar to what Dr. Peña said, our driving controls, go, stop, steer, are in a core embedded central layer that cannot be accessed from outside the vehicle. In addition, our security protocols ensure that no firmware can be downloaded to the vehicle without what is the modern-day equivalent of a two-man rule. In order to sign such a firmware, two people have to sign it off with individual keys to make sure that that encrypted firmware can be uploaded to that vehicle safely. And to answer your question very bluntly about has anyone ever been able to take over control of our vehicles, the answer is quite simply no. And to make sure that that happens, we actively participate in hacking events, paying people to try to get into our vehicles. And we are the only automotive manufacturer that does that.
Yeah, Mr. Fair, just from an industry side, I think we all are in agreement here. We want to make sure that answer continues to be no in terms of ability to be able to access. Just what are you seeing in terms of across the industry, as well as what we should be thinking about here in terms of setting standards to be able to ensure that we can look the American people in the eye and say, this is not a scenario that can happen. You don't have to worry about this.
Senator Kim, I appreciate the question, and I think what Mr. Peña described is very much industry standard. There's a thought of this as being a closed universe that the company controls, and that is a natural way of keeping out certain cybersecurity intrusions. I'll also just note here that from our perspective, we want Americans to understand that these vehicles are safe. We want Americans to trust these vehicles and understand that this is a huge priority of each of the companies that are there. If we don't have that trust, the technology doesn't get developed and it doesn't get deployed. And that's obviously not something that we want to see. And so there's a massive incentive on the part of the companies to do everything they can to address cybersecurity intrusions. And that's, I think, why we have the track record that we do.
Yeah. Dr. Peña, one last quick question for you on a different topic. I'm from New Jersey, very densely populated area. Just as I'm talking to people in my state, how do you explain a deployment to a densely populated area? What types of markers, what types of metrics you need before you can say, this is safe now to deploy in these different areas?
Yeah, before we enter any market, we do an extensive evaluation and test of the different driving features, different road types. We do analysis simulations, and we also perform testing with our vehicles what we call autonomous driving specialists behind the wheel prior to us removing the human driver. So we take our time, we do it very methodically, and we have a very strong safety framework. And all of that, those arguments, that evidence needs to be presented to a safety board, in which I'm a part of. And we approve that deployment with the sufficient evidence that the system's been demonstrated to perform safely in that city.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I'll yield back, Chairman.